Earlier in a game this month, Vikings safety Vikes Exum says he felt like he almost died on the field. I'm Antonita Collins. We're joined by Vikings reporter Ben Gessling. Now, Ben, in a game against the Seahawks, Exum fractured a rib, injured his shoulder, and he stayed in the game. Why?
Well, I think at that point in the game, the Vikings were already short on safeties, and I think at the time, he didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I've talked to him about it a couple times. It sounded like he felt this sort of searing pain, through his ribs and in his shoulder. And at the time, you're thinking, okay, is this something like what it turned out to be? Is it something more serious than that? But you don't have a chance to address it in the moment. And this was a game where the Vikings had already lost Harrison Smith. They were sort of down to the bare bones at safety. So it was an important game that they were trying to stay in the playoff mix. And I think his reaction in the moment is, well, I don't know what it is, but I can still run and move even if it's painful. So I got to stay in and try to gut it out for my team, and we'll worry about the rest later. I mean, those of us on the outside that look at that might say, well, wait a minute, no, you've got to worry about your health first and slow down and check it out. But this is sort of kind of the mindset of a lot of guys in the league and how they're wired, especially in a game like that where you feel like my team needs me and I'll worry about the rest of it later.
Now, Ben, you mentioned the lack of depth at the position, and we know that Exum was placed on the IR. He's done. This is a team with a shot at the playoffs. How are the Vikings addressing this issue?
Well, I mean, they've had to kind of think on their feet a little bit here. Him being out, they're still missing Harrison Smith. Andrew Sendejo might be back this weekend against the Bears, but the Vikings had to pull up Anthony Harris, a guy that they had signed to their practice squad as an undrafted free agent at the beginning of the season. He started last Thursday against Arizona, and Terrence Newman, who's been a corner his entire career, shifted to safety for the first time last week at age 37. That actually went okay. I mean, the Vikings played pretty well against Arizona on the back end, and I think they're feeling better this week. Anderson might back. They still have to figure out things with Harrison Smith. But seeing that Anthony Harris can handle part of that position and that Terrence Newman can shift to the back end at age 37 gave the Vikings a way to get through that. And for Terrence Newman, it could be a position that he shifts to long term. I think he looks at guys like Charles Woodson out in Oakland that are playing that position and playing it well in their late 30s and says, that's a way that I can prolong my career. So I think the Vikings have done enough to feel like they've got some options there. But for a while there, it certainly was pretty touch and go.
The Vikings, who have 2 consecutive losses, hope to turn things around this Sunday against the Bears. Once again, Ben Gessling with The Perspective. For more on the Vikings, make sure to head over to our NFL page on ESPN.com.